Welcome back to AI Takes the Mic. We are diving deep into one of hip-hop's most infamous feuds, Kendrick versus Drake. You know, this wasn't just some playground squabble. This is lyrical warfare that spilled out from the studio and ended up changing the landscape of hip-hop itself. Diss tracks, accusations, and a lot to unpack. So let's get into it.
Yeah, you're right. This feud was anything BUT ordinary. What I think is so fascinating is that it wasn't just about ego or who could spit the sickest rhymes. It actually forced a conversation about some really fundamental issues within hip-hop. Things like authenticity, artistic ownership, and how diss tracks can actually make or break a career.
Okay, so you're telling me this was more than just a battle of the beats. It was about the heart and soul of hip-hop.
Absolutely. Think of it like this. These diss tracks weren't just songs. They were statements. And the stakes, sky high, with both Lamar and Drake risking their reputations and legacies with every verse.
Okay, I'm hooked. So where do we even begin with this epic showdown? Our sources lay out this timeline of lyrical blows, and it looks like Lamar might have been the first to draw his sword.
Right. That's right. In 2024, Lamar dropped a track called Like That, and it was like he threw down the gauntlet, and he basically dismissed this whole idea of a big three in hip-hop, which was a pretty direct challenge to both Drake and J. Cole. Now, for those of you who aren't deep into the hip-hop scene, a diss track is basically a song created specifically to call out or insult another artist, and let me tell you, like that was a masterpiece of shade.
So Lamar throws this lyrical grenade, and Drake just sits back and takes it. I don't think so.
Oh, Drake definitely didn't stay silent. He fired back with a diss track of his own called Push-Ups. And just like that, this war of words was officially on. But here's where things take a really interesting turn. Drake tried to bring AI into the mix.
Wait, hold up. AI in a diss track. How does it even work?
Well, in a move that shocked pretty much everyone, Drake dropped a track called Tailor-Made Freestyle. And get this, he used AI to generate vocals. That sounded like Tupac and Snoop Dogg. Can you imagine the audacity?
Wow. That's bold, to say the least. So he's using AI to basically resurrect these hip-hop legends and throw them into this field.
Yeah. It was a wild move, and let me tell you, it backfired spectacularly. I mean, think about it. You're talking about using technology to essentially speak for artists who are no longer with us. That's wading into some pretty deep ethical waters, wouldn't you say?
For sure. It makes you wonder about artistic integrity, about respecting legacies. And I bet the legal team had a field day with this one.
Oh, absolutely. There were all sorts of copyright issues, and in the end, Drake was forced to pull the song. But the whole incident sparked a huge debate, not just about this feud, but about the future of music itself. Like, where do we draw the line when it comes to technology and artistic expression?
Heavy stuff. So we've got this AI controversy brewing, but the feud itself doesn't end there.
Right.
Things get even more intense between Lamar and Drake.
Right. Remember how I said these diss tracks were statements? Well, things escalated quickly. From clever wordplay to some seriously personal attacks. It was like the gloves came off, and both Lamar and Drake were swinging for the fences.
Okay, so take us through it. What happens next in this lyrical boxing match?
Well, Lamar comes back swinging with tracks like Euphoria and 6.16 in LA. And let me tell you, these weren't just disses. They were lyrical haymakers, Drake countered. With Family Matters. And at this point, it wasn't just about music anymore. It was personal, with accusations flying back and forth and reputations hanging in the balance.
This sounds brutal. So what you're saying is what started as a battle of rhymes morphed into something much deeper, much darker.
And it's here that the feud takes a turn that nobody could have predicted.
Because Lamar takes it up a notch with Meet the Grams.
Right.
That one definitely raised some eyebrows. And then Not Like Us, which, if I remember correctly, is where Lamar drops a bombshell.
You got it. In those tracks, Lamar makes some seriously shocking allegations against Drake. Accusations of misconduct that went way beyond the typical hip-hop beef, and Not Like Us, in particular, that song, became more than just a diss track. It was a cultural moment.
Okay. I think we need to pause here for a second.
Yeah.
And let that sink in for our listeners.
Yeah.
We're talking about a song born out of this feud. That became a major event, something people were talking about everywhere.
Precisely. And not just talking about it, but grappling with it. It forced people to confront some uncomfortable questions about the artists they idolized, about the nature of hip-hop itself, and about where we draw the line between creative expression and personal attacks. It was a turning point, not just for Lamar and Drake, but for the culture as a whole.
Whoa. I think I need to unpack all of that. But before we do, I think it's time to dive into some of the most jaw-dropping facts that emerged from this whole saga. You ready for this?
Absolutely. Let's get into it.
All right, so we've talked about the feud, the disses, the AI controversy, and the shocking accusations. But you know me, I love a good juicy detail. So hit me with some of the most mind-blowing facts that came out of this whole Kendrick versus Drake showdown.
Okay, strap yourselves in because these are some real head scratchers. First up, let's rewind back to Drake's attempt to use AI in tailor-made freestyle. It wasn't just a casual experiment, you know? This wasn't some simple voice filter. He actually used some cutting-edge deep learning algorithms to analyze the vocal patterns of Tupac and Snoop Dogg, basically recreating their voices from scratch. Imagine the technological wizardry involved in that.
Whoa. I'm getting chills just thinking about it. So he basically pulled a digital Lazarus and brought these hip-hop icons back to life, even if it was just their voices.
Exactly. And that's where things got messy. It raised all sorts of legal red flags, especially around copyright infringement. Could Drake really claim ownership over these AI-generated voices, even though they were based on the real artists? And what about the ethical implications of profiting from a deceased artist's likeness? It was a legal and moral minefield.
Yeah, that's a whole other can of worms, for sure. Okay, so that's fact number one. What else you got?
All right, fact number two. This feud wasn't just about hurt egos or artistic differences. It got really dark, really personal. We're talking serious allegations of domestic abuse and even sexual misconduct. This wasn't just about who had the better flow anymore. It was about exposing some truly disturbing behavior.
Wow. So we're talking accusations that could potentially destroy careers and reputations. Yeah. That's heavy stuff.
Absolutely. And that brings us to fact number three, which is closely tied to those serious accusations. Remember, Not Like Us, the song where Lamar drops that bombshell.
Oh, yeah, the one that sent shockwaves to the hip-hop community.
Well, here's the thing. That song wasn't just controversial. It was a massive hit. It topped the charts, won multiple Grammy Awards, and solidified Lamar's position as a lyrical powerhouse. Which makes you wonder, what does that say about us as listeners? Were we so captivated by the drama that we overlooked the gravity of the accusations?
It definitely raises some uncomfortable questions about what we choose to consume and celebrate, doesn't it?
It sure does. Okay, fact number 4. Lamar's initial attack in Like That wasn't just aimed at Drake. Remember how we talked about the Big Three concept?
Yeah, the idea that Drake, J. Cole, and Kendrick were the top dogs of hip-hop at the time.
Right. Well, in Like That, Lamar was taking aim at both Drake and DJ Cole. He was essentially saying, this Big Three thing is nonsense. I'm here to shake things up. It was a bold move, especially for someone who was still relatively early in his career.
He was definitely coming out swinging, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, lay the last fact on me. What's number 5?
Drake's use of AI in tailor-made freestyle sparked a conversation that went way beyond this feud. It forced the entire music industry, and even us as listeners, to confront the ethics of using technology in music. It raised questions like, can we really claim ownership over our artistic voices anymore? What happens when AI can create music that's indistinguishable from human-made tracks? And perhaps most importantly, are we disrespecting the legacies of artists who are no longer with us by using their voices in this way? These are questions that are still being debated today.
Wow, talk about a Pandora's box. This one feud brought up so many complex issues that are still relevant today. So we've laid out the timeline, we've unpacked the facts, and we've touched upon the ethical and technological dilemmas. Now let's zoom out and look at the big picture. What did this feud mean for hip-hop? What were the lasting consequences of this lyrical war?
So we've gone through this whole timeline of diss tracks and these crazy facts, and like you said, this feud went from playful jabs to something much heavier with accusations and consequences, and it seems like it really rippled through the whole hip-hop scene. Mm-hmm. What does it all mean?
Yeah, you're right. It's easy to just get caught up in all the drama and the headlines, but I think what's really important is the impact. This wasn't just a celebrity spat. It became this public spectacle. And that spectacle was fueled by the very essence of hip-hop, this culture where reputation and authenticity are everything. These diss tracks weren't just songs, they were weapons. And the fallout forced everyone, artists, A&D fans. Yeah. That's some really, really tough questions. Like, where do we draw the line between creative expression and outright attack? Is there a point where it goes too far, even in a genre built on competition?
Exactly. And it's a question with no easy answers. It's a conversation that's been happening in hip-hop since its early days. Mm-hmm. This tension between pushing boundaries and respecting the culture. Mm-hmm. But Lamar and Drake, they took it to another level. Their feud brought all these questions to the forefront, making everyone consider what's the cost of this kind of lyrical warfare.
And it's even more complicated when you add in that technology piece, right? Like Drake trying to use AI. That just raised a whole other set of ethical dilemmas. What does it mean for the future of music? If anyone's voice can be recreated, if authenticity itself becomes blurry.
Right, that's a huge GE question, and it's one we're all grappling with, not just in music, but art and culture as a whole. This feud, in a way, became a microcosm of all these anxieties about technology, about ownership, about what it means to be an artist in a world where the lines are constantly shifting.
Yeah, it's a lot to process. We started with a war of words, and we've ended up in this space of existential questions about art, technology, and the future of creativity itself. Did anyone really win this whole thing?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? On the surface, you could say Lamar came out on top. Not Like Us was a critical and commercial success and really cemented his place in hip-hop history. But at what cost? Did both artists, in a way, lose something in this intensely personal battle? Did the culture itself suffer? These are questions that we can't definitively answer, but they're definitely worth pondering.
Yeah, definitely something to think about. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one key takeaway you want to leave with our listeners?
I think it's this. The Kendrick Lamar and Drake feud. It wasn't just about two artists at odds. It was a mirror, reflecting some of the most pressing issues facing hip-hop, and even society as a whole. A clash of egos, a battle of rhymes, but also a catalyst for some really crucial conversations about authenticity, about technology, about the power and responsibility that comes with artistic expression.
Well said. And for all of you listening, I encourage you to go back, listen to these tracks, explore the lyrics, and come to your own conclusions. This feud might be over, but the questions it raised are still echoing through the world of music and beyond.
Absolutely. This is a story that continues to unfold, and it's one that invites us all to participate in the conversation.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the music playing.